Have you ever found yourself wondering why you're drawn to a certain type of person? Or, and this is the big one, why the very things you once found so charming about your partner now, well, drive you kind of crazy? Today, we're pulling back the curtain on the hidden script that's secretly running our love lives.
Right? It's a classic relationship puzzle. You know that super charming, spontaneous person you fell for? Now they seem kind of irresponsible. Or maybe their quiet, steady nature that felt so calming at first now just feels like they're withdrawn and, let's be honest, a little boring. It's a story we all know, and believe it or not, there's a really fascinating reason this happened.
This quote from Harville Hendrix, who's a real pioneer in relationship therapy, just hits the nail on the head. This single idea is the key to everything we're talking about today. It suggests our partnerships have a much, much deeper purpose than just romance and companionship.
So what is going on with this attraction paradox? Well, it turns out our choices in love are anything but random. We are all, without even realizing it, being guided by an unconscious blueprint, sort of an internal map that points us toward a very specific kind of person.
And that blueprint has a name. It's called the imago. Think of it as your unconscious template for what love feels like. It was created way back in early childhood, based on your experiences with your caregivers. And here's the kicker, it's a composite image. A mix of all their traits, both the wonderful positive ones and the frustrating negative ones.
And this is absolutely crucial to understand. Your unconscious brain isn't out there searching for the perfect partner. No, it's looking for a familiar one. It has this powerful magnetic pull toward people who match that childhood blueprint, even the challenging parts.
So here's how it all happens, totally behind the scenes. As kids, we experience love and, some pain from our caregivers. Our brain takes all that data and creates this map of what relationships feel like. Then, as adults, we're just walking around unconsciously scanning the crowd for someone who matches that map. And when we find one, bam! That's where that incredible, powerful spark comes from. It's that feeling of, I feel like I've known you forever.
But you might be thinking, what is the point of all this? If it just leads to frustration down the line, why would we be wired this way? Well, it turns out the goal isn't comfort. As we're about to see, the real goal is growth.
And here is that classic attraction-frustration flip in action. At the beginning, you're thinking, oh, I love how funny and relaxed they are. And then, a couple years later, you're saying, can't you ever be serious for 1 minute? It's the exact same trait, but your perspective flips once the initial romance phase settles into the reality of a long-term partnership. So this just leads us right back to the central question, doesn't it? Why would our own unconscious mind lead us straight to someone who is basically guaranteed to frustrate us? It feels like self-sabotage, but is there something else going on?
Well, here's the answer. The unconscious has a massive agenda, but its goal isn't to give you a life of perfect, easy bliss. The real goal is to heal. It's trying to resolve the unfinished business from our childhood and guide us toward becoming more whole, complete people.
And your partner, in a strange way, is the perfect person for that job. They are uniquely equipped to help you revisit those old wounds in a safe adult context. They give you a chance to finally heal those unmet needs from childhood, to reclaim parts of yourself you may have suppressed, and ultimately, to grow into a more complete version of you. Okay, so how does this actually play out in our day-to-day lives? Well, it often shows up in this really fascinating dance, a dance of shared wounds, but completely opposite ways of defending against them.
This is such a mind-blowing insight. You and your partner probably carry a very similar core wound from childhood. Maybe you both felt ignored or unimportant. The catch is, you learn to cope with that pain in completely opposite ways.
And these patterns are surprisingly predictable. For instance, if as a child your inner world, your feelings and thoughts, was often dismissed, you might grow up to be very rigid with that classic, hey, that's just who I am, defense. Or if your efforts were never really appreciated, you might swing one of two ways, either becoming hyper-competent and doing everything yourself, or swinging to the other extreme of learned helplessness.
This maximizer and minimizer dynamic is the perfect example. The maximizer, wounded around competence, thinks I have to do everything myself. It's just not safe to rely on anyone. Meanwhile, the minimizer with the same core wound thinks, this is too hard, I'll just complain or act helpless until someone else does it for me. Now, think about your own relationship. In conflicts, does one of you tend to take charge and overfunction while the other retreats or complains? That is a huge sign this dynamic is at play.
And look at this. This clash of opposing defenses is a massive source of conflict. We're talking about the majority of our recurring fights.
The maximizer's need for control slams right into the minimizer's seeming helplessness, and you get stuck in this frustrating, endless loop.
But, and this is the beautiful part, this opposition is not just the problem, it's also the solution. It creates the conflict, yes, but it also creates the opportunity. The maximizer can learn from the minimizer how to relax and trust, and the minimizer can learn from the maximizer how to step up and embrace their own competence. You literally have what the other person needs to heal.
So how do we do it? How do we actually stop this cycle of conflict and turn it into a real path for conscious growth and connection? How do we get out of the loop?
Well, it really all begins with one single but incredibly powerful shift in how you see things. A shift that changes the entire game.
And that shift is moving from blame to curiosity. That's it. Instead of seeing your partner's frustrating behavior as a personal attack on you, you start to see it as a clue, a window into their history and their pain.
Here's a super practical way to do this. The next time you feel that wave of frustration rising, just pause. And instead of letting "what is wrong with you" fly out of your mouth, silently ask yourself, I wonder what happened to them that makes this behavior make sense. This one little question can completely change the energy and open the door for real empathy.
Once you start getting curious, everything changes. You begin to see conflict not as a problem, but as growth trying to happen. You realize your partner's big reactions are usually about their story, not just about you. And from there, you can actually learn to give each other what you both so desperately needed as kids. And in doing so, you get to receive it too.
So when you boil it all down, your most important relationship is so much more than just love and companionship. It's actually a powerful live-in workshop for personal growth. It is, for better or worse, the therapy you didn't even know you signed up for.
So I want to leave you with this thought. What if all those challenges and frustrations in your relationship aren't actually a sign that you chose the wrong person? What if they're a sign that you chose the exact right person, the one who holds the map to your own healing and your own growth?